We have to introduce ourselves first.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. So my name is Justin Potisset. I did my undergraduate at Georgetown as well in the interdisciplinary studies program.
So, hi, I'm Tian Lin. I also go by Jasmine. I'm a first-year CCT graduate student.
My name is Lin Jiashen, and you can call me Lin. I'm first-year CCT student.
My name is Zhonghua Zhou. You can also call me Claire. I'm also a first-year graduate student from Chaozhou University, the CCT program.
So this is basically like the first look into our website. So we are doing unpack airdrop. The reason why we like doing this unpack airdrop technology is like socio-technical system for Apple's accessibility is the special function of Apple Wireless Direct Link, which is only accessible for Apple device users.
Because of its built-in IP addressing and other security layer features, features that are more amenable to privacy. I mean, an IP address, while it's being used, of course, is unique, right? There's only one person's device can have it at a time. So you have two issues, right? With the privacy issue, it's also closely coupled is the security issue, right? Because you were mentioning that there are times that if the airdrop default state is always on, right? You have both a security and a privacy problem, right? You can't really separate the two. And you know that in a lot of our current mobile device and other forms of wireless technology, there are many ways in which the software and the hardware have defaults, right? Have default settings as they come to us, which are not optimized for security or for privacy, right? I mean, so that the user has to learn and understand then which things to turn on and off. That's a real problem. As you know, the debate about privacy and security in Europe is very different. There's the EU has taken a much different and harder line on security and privacy issues than in the US currently.
To what extent do you think Apple's like lack of accessibility like informs like the development of global technical disparities? Because obviously like only people with Apple devices can access to Apple Wireless directly.
But that isn't new. I mean, in the history of computing or PCs or you know, smaller devices, manufacturers typically will typically want to create closed proprietary systems that create a marketplace specifically for that, you know, that company's products, right? And so you get what's called lock-in. Do you know this term, right? You get customer lock-in, right? The positive spin they have on it is loyalty, but actually it's lock-in, right? That once you're socialized into or enculturated into, or you've adopted one company's suite of technologies, you're pretty much locked in. And so in the tech world, what's called the switching costs, that is both the time and money and other kinds of stress to switch from one platform to the other, is a disincentive, right, to switch. So you have the phenomenon of lock-in, which Apple has pretty much lived on since the beginning, right?
Do you think it would be better if Apple make its AirDrop feature compatible with devices from other digital ecosystems like Android?
Every device manufacturer is investing in a proprietary closed system for their own products. So what would be the incentive? Especially if it's now exposing an awful lot about user data internally in the device, you know, contacts, ID. You can see how neither company is going to want to expose all of that to the other company, right?
The airdrop technology reveals a deeper divide between our traditional notions of privacy and one that many scholars have proposed in light of the wider diffusion of emerging digital technologies. However, we recognize, as I mentioned in my presentation, that this traditional notion of privacy might actually be relatively modern itself. From your study of pre-Enlightenment thought and literature, to what extent the notions of privacy exist in the medieval ages, and how might such conceptions inform the ongoing debate that we identify?
Well, I mean, privacy really is a modern idea, right? I mean, the comes from a Latin word privatus, you know, of the individual, something belonging to a person. Actually, the Greek word is idiotes, which we get the word idiot. And in the Greek democratic, like say in Athens, an idiotes was a private person who didn't participate in the polis, who wasn't part of the public sphere, right? So earlier, before the Enlightenment and before the notion of individual rights, as far as I understand, the division was really between the public sphere and what was considered to be the private family home sphere, right? Not individual privacy in our modern sense. So there was what belonged to all of society in the public sphere, right? What happened in the marketplace, what happened in the Senate, what happened in, right, the rule of government, that was the public sphere, belonged to everyone, anyone of the social class standing to participate, as opposed to what happened in one's family, one's household, right? That was privatus. So that seems pretty irrelevant today, right? The post-Enlightenment view is still very important, and well, it's important to our culture and civilization anyway. And there's a lot of political and legal, economic tension over, well, what does that exactly mean? Rights of the individual, privacy. And I'm not a legal scholar, so I wouldn't even want to go there right now, but it is hugely important. I think in our digital and internet connected world, the idea of individual people having the right to control and understand what's happening to data about themselves, right? Or information about themselves is really, really important. But we're pretty much, as all the metaphors, the trains, all those trains left the station, or all those genies are out of the bottles, you know, for a pretty long time now. Google and Amazon know more about me than I know about me, right? I mean, in terms of what you could figure out about my behavior, who I am, what I care about, what I do, when I do it. And the same for you, right?
So you talk about this like wireless technology is actually physical, like we don't see it, but it's actually physical. So do like, speaking of our project, do you think people who use Apple device own the Air wireless like direct link technology, or we're just like borrowed it from Apple?
You own this physical device, so what? Before you charge the battery, it's as smart as a brick, right? Such a, smartphone, yeah, really smart. It's dependent on electricity, and it's dependent on what the electricity powers internally in all the components and in the software, all of which are licensed, right? Patented, licensed. Apple and all the other companies have law departments almost as big as their engineering departments. And it's all a matter of intercompany patents and license deals, right? And you know that big long agreement that you see when you download the Apple iOS or any other app, right? Full of all the yada yadas about licensing, right? Well, it's very clear that the user doesn't own anything, right? It's being licensed to us, and there are conditions for use, right? Conditions for using the software and the hardware. You guys took on a really interesting topic. Has a lot of implications. I think it's a really good case study for the whole socio-technical system question, right? And I think you did a good job of creating a framework around that for the airdrop topic. So good job.